Do sit down.
Good evening, everybody. Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, it's my very great pleasure to welcome you all this evening on the occasion of the 2023 RSA President's Lecture. Welcome also to everybody joining us online, and you're able to take part in the discussion on Twitter using the hashtag RSA Creative Industries. This year, we're delighted to welcome Sir Peter Bazalgette, who is a legend of the creative industries and hardly needs an introduction. He's currently co-chair of the Creative Industries Council. He's chair of the Council at the Royal College of Arts. He's formerly chair of Arts Council England and of ITV, amongst others. And he will take as his theme for the lecture this year, the creative industries, one of our most innovative growth sectors in this country, and discuss the value of the creative industries to wider society and the economy at large. We'll also hear from the 5 creative sector entrepreneurs who exemplify the dynamism of that industry. Andy Haldane afterwards will then join our distinguished speakers for a discussion following their presentations, and hopefully there will be some time for questions. From the RSA's perspective, having a bold vision for the creative industries and more broadly the power of creative thinking in industry is at the forefront of our ambitions for social impact. We are investing heavily in transforming future skills, education systems, policy influencing and R&D, all of which are necessary to encourage innovation and creativity through all age groups and across all sectors. So we're really looking forward to this evening when Sir Peter and our guest speakers will walk us through their perspectives. But just before we do that, I take huge pleasure, and it's our great honour to have Her Royal Highness here. So please join me in welcoming the Society's President, the Princess Royal, to formally introduce this year's President's Lecture. Thank you.
That's very generous of you, but I think you ought to save your applauding for what you're about to hear from our speakers. But it is a real pleasure to be back for this lecture, and probably the key moment of the RSA's year. And also to be here. Those of you not here will be more as partakers now than you've ever been before, and I'm delighted to hear that. But I also have the pleasure of announcing, although for some it might be slightly mixed, that there is a formal renaming of the Romney Room here as the Queen Elizabeth II Room. And I, in particular, am delighted that you should choose this way to honour Her late Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. And of course, she was President and then patron of the Society for over 75 years. So thank you very much for honouring her in this way. That very important part of the RSA's contribution to life ever since its founding was to bring people together, particularly to discuss things like creativity. But it's also a vision where as many people as possible can do what they want to fulfill their potential as individuals in whatever area that is. But it's become more and more of a challenge. There was knowledge and information available in those days, not quite on the scale that there is now, or indeed the speed of access to it. Now that's a challenge for everybody. But it's also a challenge for the RSA to be able to respond to that and help people through all of that information. What is the difference between information and knowledge, or knowledge and wisdom, as I was once informed, was knowing that the tomato is a fruit, but not putting it in your fruit salad. Sometimes these things are less technical, but slightly more obvious that way. We have created our own problems as we've gone along, which perhaps makes the role of the RSA even more important, to be alongside those who want to progress, who want to learn, who want to know where to look, or maybe need a little bit more confidence in where to look and how to approach their ambitions in a slightly different way. So I'm delighted that these lectures contribute to that, to raise the profile perhaps of the debate, and we're very grateful to our speakers who come and join us on these occasions as a highlight of our year. The role of the RSA, as I say, keeps evolving, so our Design for Life mission is to continue to enable people, places, and on a slightly grander scale, the planet, to flourish, but in harmony. And I think we do this through the RSA by uniting people and ideas in collective action, and that unlocks opportunities to regenerate so much of what we do and the way in which we do it. And of course, that means we work with people across their life, across society in particular, and that unlocks collective creativity, opportunity, and the innovation that we all depend upon for the next stages. So, in that context, we think our speaker fits in very neatly to that creativity, the knowledge of that creativity. Sir Peter has brought a united voice across a range of creative sectors, enabling government and industry to jointly tackle barriers, particularly to growth facing the sector. You know his history perfectly well, but if I can just remind you that in 2017, Sir Peter led an independent review into UK's creative industries as part of the government's industrial strategy. And he was, of course, chair of ITV plc until September 22, and previously sat on the board of the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. We rather hope that since then you've had time to enjoy events like this, but it also means more difficult to say no. But we will be joined this evening by 5 guests, speakers, creative innovators in their own right, who are operating across screen, CreaTech, games and fashion. And from the media innovator, Peter Bazalgette, medical technology developers, Shefali Bokhra and Deborah Babalola, and social games designer Paul Croft, and textile designer and researcher Gracia Aldrin. Thank you too for joining us with those range of perspectives. And our panel, which no doubt tested by you, but will discuss how investment in entrepreneurship and in experimentation, always bold, is critical in nurturing innovation. So we look forward very much to you, Sir Peter, and our guests on the stage and the panel this evening, and also those of you who will no doubt be wishing to join in the discussion later. But I'm very much looking forward to listening, so please join me in welcoming Sir Peter Bazalgette and our distinguished guest speakers for the 2023 RSA President's Lecture.
So, Your Royal Highness, may I thank you very much for coming this evening, for your introductory words. And Your Royal Highness, colleagues, thank you all for coming, and particularly when the title of my lecture is so apparently baffling. What on earth might I mean by Bish Bash Bosh? This evening is all about the creative industries, so it might be a video game, mightn't it? Or a Netflix kids animation, or perhaps it's a fashion label. It could be any of those. And in fact, it is actually, because I looked this up, it is a music video, And it's also an existing recipe book, actually called Bish Bash Bosh. Goodness knows what the food is like, but that's another matter. Reminding us that music and publishing are also important parts of our fast-growing sector. But really, when I say Bish Bash Bosh, what I'm talking about is the phrase's dictionary definition, the completion of a task with efficiency. In other words, getting a job done. And what's that job? It's deriving full economic and social value from the fruitful research and development, the R&D, that increasingly characterizes the creative industries and their growth. And we do need to get on with it. I can cite here the support of no greater an authority than Harry Styles, who sings in his #1 hit, there's our legendary Harry Styles, who sings in his #1 hit, As It Was. He sings the words, "Get ahead, light-speed internet." Exactly, Harry, exactly. Harry Styles, by the way, a British artist whose album Harry's House was voted Album of the Year at both the Grammys and the Brits this year. Just one of the reasons why 1 in 10 tracks streamed worldwide comes from the UK. Right across our creative sector, British ideas are in demand and show us what a great opportunity we have. But we need to change the perception of our sector. Yes, we are about entertainment, we are about cultural enrichment, but we're also as much about serious R&D as those well recognized for it already, such as life sciences, automotive and aerospace. As it happens, whisper it quietly, our sector is easily worth more than all those three put together. So put that in their pipe and smoke it. Now, who is this posse sharing the stage with me? Well, they have been wonderfully introduced by Her Royal Highness already, but they are the living embodiment of this creative entrepreneurial R&D-led innovation. 4 enterprises built on our expertise in games, fashion, screen, and what we're now calling CreaTech. CreaTech is the beneficial symbiosis which occurs when creative designers collaborate with technologists, such as engineers, programmers, or data scientists. Tonight I'm arguing that if we nurture this nexus, we'll create enormous value, both culturally and economically. So, let's meet my guests, each of whom I've asked to answer 2 simple questions. What's your CreaTech product or service? Which skills or disciplines fed it into its invention? So first, please meet Paul Croft, creator of hit video games. Paul, over to you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm here as I built a games company called Mediatonic. I set up the company with a friend while we were both studying at university. That was a long 18 years ago, and together we have built the company to around 350 people. We've made over 100 games, played by many millions of people across the world. And we've made games about all manner of subjects, from performing surgery to exploring the wizarding world to dating pigeons. It's been an eclectic journey. Our latest game, Fall Guys, we launched free-to-play last year, and it was played by more than 50 million people around the world in the first 2 weeks of launch. There's huge diversity in the world of gaming. So games combine many different crafts: art, design, engineering, music, testing. One person can make a game on their own, and the largest games are made by teams of more than 1,000. So when I think about creativity in games, I think some of the most important elements are, number 1, diverse inspiration. So to create new things, we really seek inspiration from all mediums: film, arts, architecture, history, music. The more input we can find, the more ideas and connections we can spark. The second thing is continuous experimentation. So to create something good, you often need to try a lot of things. Testing, experimenting, throwing away without attachment, until you land on a gem you can polish. This is a really key part of our creative process. The third is fostering creativity. So we are not an auteur-led business. We believe that everyone on the team should be involved in the creative process and contribute to making a game better. So that requires a diverse, supportive environment that nurtures and encourages people to contribute and gives them the autonomy to do so. And finally, empathy. So to make great experiences, you need to be able to have a strong understanding of how someone will feel when they play or enjoy that experience. And for me, the best game creators are the ones that have the keenest sense of empathy. Thank you. That's me.
Thank you, Paul. And just to remind everybody, we hope to have very much to have time for questions or debate tonight, and it may be that you'll want to ask some of our guests, our speakers tonight, about their businesses and what they're doing. So next, please welcome Deborah Babalola and Shefali Bohra, both graduates of the Royal College of Art. Over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Deborah, this is Shefali, and we are the co-founders of Dotplot. And Dotplot is the world's first at-home breast health monitoring tool. But why do we need to be monitoring our breasts? Well, in 2021, there were 2.3 million women diagnosed with breast cancer globally. And in the UK, 1 in 7 women will have an incidence of breast cancer during their lifetime. And 31 women are dying of it needlessly every single day in the UK. But with early detection, survival rates increase up to 93%. But we women are not equipped with the right tools for checking our breasts, and we're relying solely on pamphlets and videos. And this has led to confusion, misconceptions, and an overwhelming amount of conflicting information. More than that, it's economically draining. The cost of care per person when diagnosed at stage 3 and 4 is almost 3 times of that of stage 1 and 2. And if every late detection was caught on time, we'd save the UK a huge amount of its resources. So that's why we want to equip women with Dotplot. Dotplot is a patent-pending technology that combines a handheld device and software capable of locating, reading, and recording breast tissue density each month using sound waves. It will take in details of your menstrual cycle to predict the best date for you to do a self-check, and then you'll build a personalized map of your torso with our tissue density, with our depth analysis technology. It will then visually depict the areas that you've covered in your self-check and show you the other areas that still require scanning, while taking readings of your tissue density at specific locations. We then compare monthly readings to highlight any abnormalities that you need to be aware of and ensure that women are reaching their GPs in good time.
Having conceived this idea during our masters, we then went ahead and identified the market which this would be adopted in. So we identified that market at large involves every woman aged 20 plus. 69.8 million of these women will have breast cancer incidences just within UK, US, and India. And our early adopters include women who have increased susceptibility to breast cancer, as well as women who are health conscious. We would sell this device directly to our consumers or via distribution partners as a one-time purchase device off the shelf. It comes with an annual app subscription, and multiple users within the same household can use the same device. We've so far secured about £190,000 in grant funding and competitions and have successfully built our team. We've made a multidisciplinary team that involves hardware engineering as well as commercial capabilities and regulatory capabilities. We also receive abundant amount of information from our advisors who sit at the forefront of NHS as well as leading startups. We've received immense amount of love from women themselves and have spoken to over 200 women who have led to building of this product. And we've conducted a user test with 80 participants in the first 2 weeks of April. We've also built our positioning system, which means we can now accurately locate where the device is on the body, and would be combining it with the tissue density recording system and finishing our MVP by the end of this year. With self-checks, early detection is possible, and with Dotplot comes the clarity, ease, and confidence to conduct these self-checks. So if you would like to get involved in the process, please do scan the QR code and reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Shefali and Deborah. Now we're going to hear from Paul Bacharski, creator of screen sharing software for the entertainment industry. Paul.
So this is me and my dad and his German Shepherd doing what we love, watching TV together. But I moved abroad for work. I just wasn't able to be with him to watch TV together. So we used to video call each other. And it turned out that many people that I saw on the internet do this. They put a laptop next to their TV and they video call their friends whilst watching the same show. And this was the idea that started CreaTech. We first, very humble beginnings, a camera on a bottle in our kitchens, started testing the idea with a couple users. We then R&D'd the technology for video calling, synchronization, so no one had to say 3, 2, 1, press play, noise cancellation, and started our first prototype and tests on TVs. Today, I'm really proud to say we power 25 huge companies around the world with their Watch Together experiences. Here in the UK, BT Sport, you can enjoy watching together inside their app. NBA in 187 countries on their streaming service. T-Mobile in Germany, Telefonica in Spain, who's also an investor in CreaTech. And PCCW in Hong Kong. From London, we've sold to the US, Hong Kong, Europe, and our home country. And I just want to leave you with this image because as a founder, when BT Sport, when I saw these ads around London and England, football's better when we watch together, and this was powered by our little company that started in a kitchen, it made me very proud. So the learnings here are, be curious. If something happens to you, like it did to me and my dad, there might be others. Go after it, fail fast, and test. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. And finally, please meet Gracia Aldrin, a fashion designer and pioneer of sustainable 3D printing. Gracia.
Hello, thank you. So, yes, I am Gracia. I'm the founder of Wefin, and I believe that waste is a design flaw. And specifically, the waste in the fashion industry stems from a poorly designed, outdated way of making clothing. So specifically, in garment production, of the millions of tons of fiber that are produced every year, a staggering 25 to 35% of that is just wasted on the garment factory floor, but before it even gets to the consumer. And I believe that the garment manufacturing system is broken. And so that's what I hope to change with Wefin. We're developing a garment manufacturing system that 3D weaves yarn into garments. And what that does is it essentially merges two manufacturing steps into one. So essentially we're weaving the fabric and the garment into one step, completely disrupting fashion supply chains. And so with Wefin, we're developing a 3D woven garment production method that eliminates waste by merging production steps and making them more efficient. Specifically, we help fashion brands reduce their environmental footprint by eliminating fabric offcut waste by 62%. And that's all woven on one machine using existing UK jacquard looms. So we're really focused on reinvigorating the historically rich UK textile industry and focusing on building better garment production locally. So yeah, I cannot do this alone, and I think that I am an example of a creative that has looked outside of her sector of art and design and realizes that to develop systemic change requires collaboration. So with Wefin, we have focused on collaborating with academia, industry, and government. Our most important collaboration is with the University of Leeds and their 3D Weaving Innovation Centre, which has meant that I'm working with engineers, PhD researchers, technologists, and supply chain specialists, all while having real-world impact, I would say, by focusing on industry as well. So that's what we're trying to do, is reinvent how clothes are made. And I was told I am actually wearing them right now, so I can give you the tour. But yes. These are the real-life 3D woven trousers.
3D printed trousers, that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I think a final round of applause for all our wonderful speakers. Thank you. So I think we can say all 5 of you, Bish Bash Bosh, you got on with it. So the question is, how do we replicate your success? What policies do we need to extend the progress of the creative industries? A sector, mark you, that now represents around 6% of the total economy, grows much faster than the total economy, and employs 2.3 million of us, and exports more than £50 billion worth a year of goods and services. Well, the Creative Industries Council, which is a joint sector government initiative, is about to publish a sector vision, and it's intended as a policy framework for the coming decade. And it has its main theme, inclusive growth, so that we can turbocharge the sector, we ensure that the whole country benefits, and that we're open to all talents. We can become, if you like, the Heineken sector, reaching the parts that other sectors don't reach. We see 3 main engines for this as being clusters, university spinouts, and a drive to improve skills. So let me say a word about each of those. The creative industries have naturally grouped themselves into local clusters where talent congregates and where alliances with local education and local authorities prosper. We've established there are now more than 50 of these organic clusters. Music in Manchester and Sheffield, games in Dundee and Leamington Spa, TV and film in Cardiff and Bristol, fashion in Leeds and London, and so on. As Your Royal Highness said, I proposed in 2017 in a report for the government that we put some seed corn funding into creative clusters. There were competitive bids, and 9 clusters specialising in screen, fashion, AI and games won a total of £56 million from UK Research and Innovation, UKRI. The winning bids had to demonstrate strong local partnerships between universities and business. Our sector is made up of many SMEs, and the whole idea was to help national government connect with local talent in a practical way. I'd say government has always had a pro-small business rhetoric, but in practice can't really connect with thousands of small enterprises. Winning bids came in from Bristol, Cardiff, Edinburgh, Belfast, Dundee, Leeds, which you just heard about because Leeds University cluster is something you were working with, and York and London. Their clusters are now in the 5th year, and their performance has been nothing short of astonishing. I thought they might achieve a parity of match funding that, in other words, about a match funding of about 56 million. In fact, that number is a stonking 252 million and counting from industry and other sources. Both trade investment and venture capital have been committed to, for instance, immersive video experiences in Doncaster, virtual screen production in Belfast, and e-skins for giving machines a sense of touch in Edinburgh. The creative clusters are connecting the sector with university applied research of the sort you've heard about tonight, working with 2,500 SMEs in the different subsectors. There have been 700 R&D projects, 227 new startups, and it's produced 558 new products and services. So these clusters have been redefining the way the industry and university researchers can collaborate. The fruitful ideas that are springing from this include such things as game design tech that addresses obesity, robot avatars to help in disaster zones, 16th century art transformed into an immersive experience, virtual reality reducing the pain of childbirth, an app for 3D set designs in theatre and music, high-value yarn from recycled fibres, a leather substitute derived from fungi. I'm not going to go on, it's all right, you can relax. But you would have guessed all those things were possible from just listening to my colleagues on the stage tonight. That is the diversity of ideas and entrepreneurship we're talking about. Now, it's greatly to the UKRI's credit that they backed the creative clusters. You'd think it was a no-brainer to go on and fund a second phase to stimulate other regions and other subsectors in the same way. Because we see great opportunities, for instance, with music tech, ad tech, publishing tech. They're all part of the emerging CreaTech story too. I have to admit tonight, it's been a bit of an uphill struggle getting the same support for creative clusters too. But I now believe that we'll probably have some sort of plan in place by midsummer. It's taking a bit of time for some of our institutions to catch up and get with the programme. The 12 new investment zones announced in March's budget by Jeremy Hunt made the creative industries one of 5 priority sectors for growth. So that actually represents a further opportunity for the clusters to grasp if they're properly supported. A second sector vision engine of growth is university spinouts. Now, you'll have to forgive me tonight if I explain what I mean with reference to the Royal College of Art, because that's where I chair the council. But let me first say, and some of you in the room are associated with the other places, that other art and design colleges are available, and indeed very good ones. But the RCA, from its foundation in 1837, has always had a rather heady mix of arts and commerce. It was thought that Germany had better industrial design than us, so the RCA was set up originally to correct this. That's why, as well as being the college of David Hockney and Bridget Riley, we're also the place which James Dyson and Thomas Heatherwick graduated from, and indeed Shefali and Deborah. We're a graduate school, and in fact you can see on the screen there our brand new campus at Battersea. We're a graduate school, and today a quarter of our new entrants come from non-arts disciplines, such as medicine and engineering. And as you've already heard from my guest tonight, CreaTech depends on this really important quality, interdisciplinarity. The RCA has been championing this happy symbiosis for some time. We venerate the STEM skills like everyone else, but we like to add the word A for arts to make it really dynamic. Now that spells STEAM. And I cannot resist pointing out that this wouldn't be the first time that STEAM has propelled an industrial revolution, would it, ladies and gentlemen? A good example is RCA's joint program with Imperial College, from which many CreaTech spin-out companies now come. In fact, our spin-out program, Innovation RCA, has now spawned more than 80 funded companies. You may have heard about the mask for cattle that will greatly reduce methane release. Most of cows' methane apparently comes from the front, not the back. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that tonight. Or indeed you may have heard of the small device which attaches to tyres to collect particles that are now one of the main sources of urban pollution. But I want to give you more of a flavour of the joint programme with Imperial, because the last time I went round the laboratory, I found small teams with, for instance, ceramicists and commercial designers working with data scientists and engineers. And two projects stick in my mind. Judging the health of soil normally involves taking a sample to a laboratory, both expensive and time-consuming. This team had designed an audio probe which goes into the earth and listens out for worms and insects and instantly collects the live data, showing how alive or dead soil is. In the next booth, where a group had come up with a novel filter for rainwater flowing into street drains. It removes pollutants like the minute particles from tyres. And it's novel because it has to work with rapid flows, or the result will be flooding. Now, I don't know whether those embryonic ideas that I've actually seen in the last few weeks will become spin-out companies in their turn, but they're certainly strong candidates. So what did I learn from this visit of mine? That the next generation of talent, given the chance, can become ingenious problem solvers for some of the biggest challenges facing us. That they excel when they combine their expertises. And in the process, they'll deliver great social as well as economic benefit. That's the prize. Innovation RCA is just raising its latest investment fund to fuel these spin-outs. It must be said that the investment community have been a bit slow, like others I've already mentioned, to catch on to this opportunity, this CreaTech opportunity. But there are some green shoots. The Arts and Humanities Research Council, the AHRC, is funding a new CreaTech project called CoStar, which is going to imagine the next stage of tech needed for our screen industries to continue to thrive in an era of virtual production and immersive experiences. The Digital Catapult is a constant support, as will be DCMS's new Create Growth programme. Then the creative sector has its own advocacy organisation, Creative UK. And we're nothing if not innovative, because Creative UK uniquely is also a venture investor in small creative companies. In fact, they invested in your company, Paul Bajarski, did they not? Creative UK is also raising a new fund of its own at the moment. Then there's the British Business Bank, beginning to catch on to this opportunity and deploying funds to the small number of sector investors. But we have to do much more to get the message out. Compared to, say, life sciences, everything I've just talked about are still very, very modest commitments. A third catalyst for growth that we're backing in our sector vision is the drive for relevant skills. Now, any fast-growing sector will have a skills shortage. For instance, our rapidly growing TV and film businesses are currently short of everything from hairstylists to real-time game engineers. In the new Garden Studios, nestling beside a biscuit factory in northwest London, it's actually where they make Jaffa cakes, which I'm quite partial to actually, in the Garden Studios, they're reinventing production for film, TV, and online maker influencers. As yet, no one has exactly the skill set needed for virtual production. It's a combination of real-time game engineering, traditional film production, and live event experience. Now, talking of live event production, did you know that Beyoncé is very big in South Yorkshire? You would if you'd listened to the radio this morning, because I said it on the radio this morning. But I bet most of you didn't. And that's where she stays for a week at the production park near Pontefract, when the rig and the digital design, you can see it on the screen, for her world tours are being designed, built and rehearsed with. Production Park, by the way, had a very significant investment in it early on by the Arts Council, which should not be forgotten. They're gathering a cluster of high-tech companies around them to service this R&D-led enterprise. And like Garden Studios, they've attached a college to train the next generation. But they're only scratching the surface compared to the demand we're going to see going forward. Delivering this talent base is going to be critical to future growth. But in the context of our Bish Bash Bosh agenda tonight, the biggest challenge of all as a sector is that we've never properly explained ourselves to parents, teachers and pupils. Last month, I went along to a top-ranked academy school in West London, you know, on the Speakers for Schools programme. King Solomon's, it's called. And I had the breakfast slot with their very bright sixth formers, first-year sixth formers. And I talked to them about which games, music, TV, online video and fashion they consume. And they answered me with great relish and passion. But when I then asked them, what are the jobs which produce all this intoxicating content, they didn't have a clue. So here's the point. We have a crucial task ahead of us to define the career pathways into our industry. And if we don't, we'll fail to recruit the next generation of talent. And there's another big challenge too. Over the past 10 years, the take-up of the GCSE, which we in the creative sector regard as a very important one, design and technology, the take-up of it appears to have fallen by 70%. These are the career technologists of the future. Why the decline? We have to find out and put it right. The output of the creative industries is in effect our national conversation. The games, the TV, the music, the advertisements, the publications are the means by which we develop and interrogate our values. But our sector is not as representative as it should be. If we claim to be the beating heart of our culture, then we need to draw on all communities. And I don't think we can tackle this without explaining to children what the career pathways into our sector are. So that's a critical task. There are lots of opportunities emerging at the moment. The introduction of local skills improvement plans, where local groups and clusters can tell local FE and HE colleges what skills they need. The emergence of degree apprenticeships and T-levels should mean, if it works, that we can embed training and education in our companies more dynamically. But if we haven't done the grunt work on career pathways, we'll never be able to capitalize on these opportunities. So you'll have noticed a recurrent theme tonight, that we're a young, emerging sector and not everyone's caught on yet. Well, indeed, the creative industries were only defined about 25 years ago. We were the first country ever to delineate such a sector, though many have now followed suit. Soon it was being measured by the ONS via 9 key subsectors. They're advertising and marketing, architecture, crafts, design and designer fashion, film, TV, video, radio, photography, IT, software and computer games, publishing, museum, galleries and libraries, and finally, music, performing and visual arts. And then they added a useful economically slanted definition, I think we can have a look at it, industries which have their origin in individual creativity, skill and talent, and which have a potential for wealth and job creation through the generation and exploitation of intellectual property. Now, in the years since that was written, we've moved on, but not enough. In Britain, we over-inform ourselves on our traditional manufacturing sectors, and we under-inform ourselves about our sunrise sectors. I'm therefore very pleased that our sector's Policy and Evidence Centre, which we affectionately call the PEC, is now having a new lease of life, funded by the AHRC and housed here at the RSA, as well as at Newcastle University. We're going to need better data to inform fruitful future policies. For example, we think we export more than £50 billion worth of goods and services a year, but the real figure, and I suspect it is, rather higher than that. We need to be much better at tracking digital exports. And relevant to our Bish Bash Bosh agenda, we'll be looking to the PC to come up with new, more sophisticated measures to capture the emerging stuff that's difficult to tie down and doesn't conform to the old norms of the last century. A good example is CreaTech itself, with its blend of skills, creating a category that our cobwebbed old definitions don't recognize. Without that, will always be a poor relation in our exploitation of things like R&D tax reliefs and the apprentice levy. Another important thing as we reinvent our economy is the departments of state we work with. They need to work together to help us. The creative sector comes under DCMS, which works diligently for us, but it also depends on industrial policy at the Business and Trade Ministry, which is now called DBAT. Then there's the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. You'll have spotted their agenda is highly relevant. I'm pleased to see that one minister currently sits across both DCMS and DCIT. I can't leave out the Department of Education, of course, nor all their strategic paymasters at the Treasury. I'm delighted, actually, that tonight, both online and here in the hall, we've got a range of officials from many of these departments. And I urge you all to continue collaborating with each other to further the interests of the creative sectors. Just say Bish Bash Bosh to your counterparts and they'll know what you mean. And remember, please, that success for the creative sector also means success for the rest of the British economy. Obviously via the advertising and marketing that burnishes all our brands and drives sales. Via the game engines that now enable product design in the car industry. Via the VR and AR which assists civil engineers and architects to create digital twins of cities. Via the real-time technology that helps deliver mental health services. This is the power of STEAM. What does that spell, brothers and sisters? Yes, STEAM. So in conclusion, tonight, I'd like you to cast your minds back, please, to last summer. The Queen's Platinum Jubilee was a joyous celebration, and an event we now realise has added poignancy, because as it turned out, we were also bidding farewell to a much-loved monarch. For many, the high point of the evening was when a giant corgi, a surprisingly benign giant corgi, it must be said, hovered above Buckingham Palace. It was created by 400 illuminated, coordinated drones in an astonishing coup of both technology and creative design. It was delivered by a company called Sky Magic, which operates out of London and Singapore. Could there be any greater example of CreaTech? And it reminds us that the output of the creative industries gives us pleasure, inspiration, and can unite us at the same time as delivering economic growth. Your Royal Highness, colleagues, I hope I and my guests have demonstrated tonight that our sector is indeed one of R&D-led innovation. So let's all say, Bish Bash Bosh. Exactly. Well done. Audience participation. Let's all say Bish Bash Bosh and seize the opportunity to grow it further. Thank you very much.
Evening, everyone. Thank you, Baz and team. Marvellous performance. We have about 10 minutes for questions. We'll take some in the room, we'll take some online. Wait for a mic before you open your mouth. Who wants to go first? That was first hand up. We'll go there to the back.
My name is RSA. I'm a fellow. Hours and days before the late Queen, after she gave her Commonwealth Day message, she talked very presciently then about the potential in the Commonwealth of technology, innovation and social impact. So my question is simply this. You talked about STEAM. The Commonwealth itself, 1 in 3 people on the planet, 44% of the world's poorest women, etc., etc. What would you suggest should be an agenda for STEAM in the Commonwealth?
Well, some of you may have something to say to that. The first thing I'd point to is the fact that higher education in this country welcomes every year thousands and thousands of brilliant students from around the world. And they are an essential part, I think, of the what should I call it, the academic development, the financial development, the industry development. And so if this country can remain a home in its higher education, and if we no longer hear comments from politicians, which I'm pleased to say we haven't heard recently, saying that such people are not welcome or too many people come to this country. That, for me, would be the greatest thing we can do. It's the way higher education delivers that. When young people of talent from different countries mix and work together, it gives you some hope for the future in what has been a somewhat bleak 12 months.
Thank you. I'm going to take one online now, and actually for our CreaTech entrepreneurs. This one is about topical topic, which is AI. And the question is, how do we embed AI meaningfully to create good jobs in the creative industries? Let's have a bash at that one.
Paul,
Paul?
Yeah, well, I think it's a challenging topic because AI is changing so quickly. I don't think we've seen anything like it before. It is compounding on itself and improving at a far faster rate than Moore's law, which is the previous guiding force in the industry. So it changes every week, and I think the challenge is both keeping up with development and learning about how we can deploy it in the right way. I think it will create a new category of jobs in the industry in terms of prompting AI and leveraging AI to do more. I think it will improve. So for example, one of the examples I gave was testing and iteration, and it will enable you to test 1,000 things instead of 1 or 2 things, so much quicker innovation, I think. And then hopefully increasing the leverage that different disciplines have, so engineering, artists, designers will be able to operate at a much greater leverage than they have been in the past. So it's a fascinating space, and yeah, I'm excited to see how it evolves, but I think it will lead to the creation of more jobs, more innovation, both working on AI and with it.
Right, Paul to Paul.
In our industry, we have PhD students, so still humans who write algorithms for noise cancellation. So it's speech separation to background noise. So it's still written by humans. And then developers implement that as AI. So that's how we're looking at AI, because it removes manual workflows, but it still originates from PhD students who first come up with those algorithms.
Back in the room, I saw a hand. Let's go here, and then we might go over here.
Thank you. Mohammed bin Madani, I'm a live fellow here. What I would like to know is how much money does the government needs to set aside in order to achieve our goal in industry?
So, sir, you mean money in relation to backing the creative sector?
Yeah, funds, yes.
Yes. Well, the first thing I would like to say, and I hope that this will be reported to the Chancellor, will be it isn't solely a matter of what we ask government to do. It's what we as a sector do, and it's what we ask the venture capital industry to do, and so on. And I refer to that, and it's what we ask our government agencies to do who've had money given to them already, and they need to deploy it in certain ways. So it isn't just the government. But the overall point I'd make, and your question is very welcome, is that we don't deploy the resources and the venture capital towards this sector in the same way that we do to some of our other growth sectors that I mentioned, like life sciences. And we want life sciences to grow even faster. We don't want any other sector to be smaller. We just could do more. That would be the point.
Go back online. Maybe it's a question that Deborah or Shafali or Gracia might pick up, which is about access to finance. Maybe some of your own experience of, could you get your hands on the right amount of money at the right amount of time to scale your business?
Yeah. Okay. I think in terms of funding that we've received so far, we've been really cushioned, I would say, just because they're so accessible. Innovate UK, especially UKRI, has so many grants running all the time, and all you need to do is find the right one for yourself, for your business, and then be able to successfully write an application. And within 3 months, you do have a reply from them, which is just an application, and then it's the project set up. You get a monitoring officer who's actually looking after you in terms of the fact that you're delivering the project with absolutely no equity dilution within for the business itself. And it's been really instrumental for us so far. and has made the startup progress so fast-paced. Just adherence is also so important in terms of grants that you cover. And yeah, I guess if you're starting a business right from scratch, Innovate UK is the place to definitely go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think following on from that point, I'm a big Innovate UK supporter. WEFIN is a very heavy R&D project at the moment, so we're really trying to develop the 3D weaving technology and, from the ground up. And so yeah, Innovate UK has been a huge supporter of that and has allowed me to work with the university and gain access to all of these engineers and researchers. So I think without that, WEFIN wouldn't really exist. So yeah, I think it's very valuable to invest in early stage research, and grant is one of the best ways forward, I think.
Very good. The RSA is an apolitical organisation. I've taken the right wing, the centre, so now we'll take the left wing over here.
James.
Who better than James, actually?
First time I've been described as left wing for a very long time. Thank you for a wonderful lecture and wonderful presentations from incredibly interesting companies. Peter, you were brilliantly and politely saying that you thought that maybe there was a lack of recognition for the sector, and you've probably done more than anyone to try and make the case over the last few years. What do you think it is that makes it so difficult, and that we should be learning from your campaign over more than a decade to get this recognised? What is it, I suppose, with politicians and opinion formers that is getting in the way, and how can we shift it?
I think it's two or three things. I think the first thing is that we're a sector that only defined for the first time cleverly by people like David Putnam and Chris Smith in 1997, and we were world leading to do that. But when you define a new sector, it takes an awfully long time for it to be recognised and move through the whole system, the ONS, the statistics, the systems of recognition, and we still, a lot of the things we do don't come under the right definition for R&D tax relief or this apprenticeship scheme or whatever. So it takes time for things to change, and as I say, I do think that a lot of our industrial policy, although of course it's changing very fast, a lot of it has historically been more about traditional manufacturing, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's one thing. The second thing is that we aren't one sector really. We're a bit like Italy actually. We're a lot of regions. We've got these 5 or 6 subsectors with sometimes very different agendas. Although I think what we've been talking about tonight unifies the sector, and I think it's important we try to talk in that way. And so each of those subsectors has got their own advocacy organisations, and so we've been trying very much with things like Creative UK and the Creative Industries Council to begin to talk more like a sector in general. But there's more to do. But those are the main reasons. And things are moving. Things are definitely moving.
Time is short. I'm going to ask one last question. Go down the line. I grant you all one wish. Your sector, your business, for the world, if you like. Baz, we'll kick off with you.
Thank you so much for that, Andy, and thanks for... When you first asked me this question 2 seconds ago, the immediate thing that came into my mind was... when you say for the world, I'm going to end up saying something that will sound rather mundane in answer. I want to see creative clusters phase 2. That's what I want to see, right? Yeah.
Thank you. Paul?
For everyone to enjoy a game every once in a while.
Especially one of yours?
Well, no, not necessarily, but yeah.
Deborah?
I'd say to see more collaboration between industries that have been quite maybe segregated or separated from each other. Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good point.
Shafana?
I just want to see more impactful startups come up and make the impact that they want to make.
Paul?
For the next World Cup, the whole world to watch together.
Ah, yes!
Yeah, I would say my sector is quite difficult because the fashion industry is horribly wasteful and horribly unsustainable. But I would say the way that we get out of this is looking at our systems and how they were designed in the wrong time, and we're entering a new world, and that needs to be redesigned.
Oh, to be a young person. Listen, time is up, regrettably. That's been amazing. Let me give some thank yous to the audience online, the hundreds of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. Only got to some of them. But for those who want to continue the conversation, you now can do that using the RSA's new digital platform, which is called Circle. It is brilliant. For those not on Circle, crack on. Now's your chance this evening. For those in the room, you all, a huge thanks for coming along and also for your questions. You can continue the conversation either on Circle or in the bar downstairs. Tough one, right? What I wouldn't recommend is going to the bar downstairs, then continue the conversation on Circle. Finally, please join me in thanking, first of all, tonight's Fantastic Five, our creative entrepreneurs, Paul, Deborah, Shafali, Paul and Gracia. They were absolutely amazing. And last, but by no means least, a huge thank you to our very special speaker this evening, Baz, who throughout his career and again this evening has shown us all what true creativity is all about. Thank you all. Have a fantastic evening.
Well done. You were great. You were great.